Since the formation of organized local government in 1996, SALGA has been able to support and lobby for its member municipalities to receive targeted grant funding from the national fiscus and also to implement strategies that will assist municipalities to improve service delivery in local communities. I know when I talk about grant funding, I'm sure the President will say to me it's not sufficient. I know that, President. It's something that we're going to be engaging on. But SALGA in particular has an entrenched responsibility to represent organized local government at various levels of government, including representation in the National Council of Provinces. In this regard, SALGA has been influential in the passing of critical legislation that is intended to improve service delivery at local government level in particular. This includes, amongst others, the Electoral Laws Amendment Act of 2021 and the Municipal Systems Act, just to mention a few. Now, as we move towards 30 years of SALGA's existence, we are aware that the journey you have traveled has not been easy. However, you have made significant contributions to the improvement of the lives of communities at the coalface of government. SALGA has effectively advocated for the sector in numerous intergovernmental fora. Over the years, SALGA has made significant contribution to legislative frameworks that provide members with support at various areas. These include areas such as water management, transport management, electricity, disaster and waste management, safety and security, local government funding, and international relations. SALGA has also been committed to the transformation agenda with women occupying key leadership positions, establishes local government as a distinct field of governance within a framework of cooperative governance, where the three spheres being distinctive yet interconnected and mutually dependent. Given that local government comprises in our country about 257 municipalities, effective engagement in intergovernmental relations necessitate that local government operates collectively. In other words, this necessitates that SALGA be at the center of this coordination. Local government can act collectively only through organized local government structures as recognized and entrenched in the Constitution and other enabling legislation, as I've mentioned some of them before. Therefore, as SALGA, you are expected to play this representative role as the voice of local government across a number of intergovernmental structures that exist. Intergovernmental integration is critical for promoting collaboration, coordination, and communication across different levels of government. Through coordination, our efforts and resources, we can solve complex difficulties that our communities face on a daily basis and ultimately provide better services to our residents. Together we can streamline processes and leverage each other's strength to achieve impact. It is through this collaborative approach that we can unlock innovative solutions and drive sustainable development across the nation. Compatriots, as we engage in conversation during various sessions of this Lekgotla, we must do so frankly in order for us to be able to come up with the strategic direction that will improve service delivery throughout all our municipalities. We are all aware that the local government sector continues to grapple with multiplicity of challenges. These challenges include weaknesses in service delivery planning, failing municipal infrastructure, and the increasing pressure on local government finances. Furthermore, issues of poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment can only be effectively addressed, as I said earlier, through collaborative efforts by government across all levels. After the 2021 local government elections, we have witnessed an increase in municipalities with hung councils. This has forced many municipalities to be governed through coalitions. However, in practice, coalition governments have been unstable and are often terminated before the end of their term of office. I think many of us are aware that some of them don't even complete a year in office, so it has been a big challenge. This instability in local government coalitions has contributed to severe inefficiencies and service delivery challenges. Because as we know, once there are changes, you bring in new councillors, there's a new mayor, new leadership, and then people start making changes. So that's the challenge that we face. Coalition arrangements have compromised the ability of municipalities to adopt policies, pass budgets, adopt bylaws, and make senior management appointments. Obviously, I'm not saying that is the case everywhere else. There may be areas where coalition governments are working well in some municipalities. But in the main, you find these challenges in most of our coalition arrangements. This also has resulted in the development of a framework in coalition local government by SALGA. We have since used this framework as part of our source documents, amongst others, to develop a discussion document which during the National Dialogue on Coalition Government, we were able to refer to it when we met at the University of the Western Cape in August of 2023. You will recall, colleagues, that when we convened that dialogue, in the main, it was because of looking at the challenges that were happening at local government level. I remember some people were saying I convened that dialogue because I was anticipating that at the national level we're going to go that route. No, it was not true. I did not anticipate. I was just trying to deal with the problem at hand. But it's an experience that is helping us now as we speak. It may not be something we planned, but with hindsight, we started with national government on a much better footing compared to at local government level. So it was a blessing in disguise. To this end, with the assistance of Dalla Omar Institute and MISTRA, we have been able to develop coalition frameworks for South Africa. So you'll recall when we were at the dialogue, MISTRA and the Dalla Omar Institute were there working with us on that framework. This framework has been handed over to the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs as a basis for the development of the Municipal Structures Amendment Bill 2024, which some call the Coalitions Bill. which is managed now by COCTA, and will be submitted to Cabinet for approval and to be introduced to Parliament in this coming session. So it will come quite soon, and we do expect that SALGA will be able to make a lot of proposals as we go through that. We must all be committed to our clearly defined vision to promote the interests of local government. In doing so, we must appreciate the increased effectiveness and efficiency of SALGA's support to municipalities, particularly in intergovernmental structures. But as I said earlier, including the NCOP is one area where we would like to see SALGA playing a very important role. We are now cognizant of the fact that many entities have been unable to pay their bills. In other words, many of our municipalities. It is obvious that a municipality's capacity to pay its bills, including those of ESCOM, water boards, is directly related to its capacity to collect revenue for the services rendered to households, businesses, and other government departments. Now, I know there are a number of culprits here, Minister. I know that we ourselves as national government, we are culprits as well. There are a number of national government departments that are not paying municipalities, and it's something that we need to deal with, whether it's for water services or electricity. And for us to expect municipalities to be able to pay water boards, to pay ESCOM, when they are not able to collect proper revenue, it's a big problem. And I'm happy, President, you said to me earlier that this is something that you're going to be discussing with Minister of Finance in the Lekgotla in March, but also including issues of the funding model for local government. I did say to the President earlier on that at the beginning of the new administrations after independence, there was a particular view on municipalities and the kind of revenue base we thought they have. And that must have informed the issue of how we manage the sharing of revenue in terms of the national fiscus. That needs to be reviewed now that we know the reality. And I'm happy that that engagement has started, because the assumption that all municipalities have revenue to service all these entities where they get services from is not entirely correct, because they don't have revenue base. So we need to re-look into that. So, Chairperson, in response to the increasingly complex situation faced by municipalities, we urge SALGA to continue working with government, especially national government, but also other critical partners, to find suitable solutions to these challenges. I'm happy that Minister Ramukhopa is here, Minister Godongwane was also here, because we need to plan together. A lot of things happen at the local level, whether you're talking service delivery, economic development, economic growth, they happen at local level. So we need to coordinate and work together. Now, with regard to payment of water boards, the Minister of COCTA proposed what we call a one-stop solution to resolve the interlinked financial challenges between municipalities, water boards, and other stakeholders. I'm not sure, President, if SALGA have been favored with this proposal, but it's something that we need to look at. Now, this approach, colleagues, would involve streamlining the payment system through the National Treasury. Now, let me try and explain it, because some people don't like it. I don't know if Minister Ramokgopa likes it. But under this model, funds owed by government departments to municipalities will be directly routed through the National Treasury, which would then allocate payments to water boards and other creditors like ESCOM. So in other words, you're doing what we call, Minister, top slicing. Yeah? Don't like it? No, I'm just pulling his leg. No, what we're trying to do is that we're saying to National Department, if you owe water boards or ESCOM, before we give you your money, we will take what you owe and pay it to those that you owe. Obviously, we don't want to cripple departments, so what we take will be measured, because some of the debts are quite high. So National Treasury will say, okay, Minister Ramokgopa, we see your department is owing ESCOM some money, so instead of giving you 100 million, we'll give you 90. We take in turn to pay gradually the debt. So it's something that we think will help over time. Obviously, a new idea that we're going to try and deal with it now. Now, as government, we understand that addressing the innate issues plaguing municipal finance is not only essential for improving service delivery and infrastructure, but also for restoring public trust in local government. If municipalities are not doing well, people lose trust in them. They lose trust in local governance. So it's important that we must get their finances right. We therefore encourage municipalities to explore new models to effectively collect revenue, thus ensuring their financial sustainability. In this regard, we encourage municipalities to enter into that space by, amongst others, bringing in the IPPs and buying from them. I'm sure Minister Ramokgopa will be talking to you about those opportunities where municipalities can also generate electricity where possible. But I leave that to you to talk to SALGA about how to go about that as well. We are focusing on finding new revenue streams, and this will be discussed with National Treasury in the Lekgotla. Really, that should help us to address the core issues that affect our municipalities. But also, I think SALGA must also help us to ensure that when it comes to issues of leadership in municipalities, that there is more discipline in doing things and so on. So it's not just that you don't have a revenue base, but sometimes also leadership, management, all those things sometimes do contribute to municipalities not doing well. If we do that, or in doing so, it will be important that we consider strengthening the municipal public accounts committees to ensure oversight on procurement processes, expenditures, and compliance with financial regulations. I believe chairpersons, that our municipalities can be fixed. We just need more concerted efforts in the implementation of professionalization in our municipalities. We do have the professionalization framework, which we must apply to national, provincial, and local government, but also state-owned companies. The framework as it is now focuses on ensuring that we have the right people who are implementing, accelerating service delivery, addressing poor performance, but also skills gap in the public service. It's important that we attract people with the right skills in our municipalities to be able to work there. Now, the president was saying to me earlier, the president of SALGA was saying to me earlier that we need to relook at the categorization of municipalities, because sometimes some of them are finding it difficult to attract the kind of skills they need because of the disparities in remuneration and so on, something that we need to deal with. But there's no doubt that you need more professionals at local government level. I know that historically the metros have been able to attract more skilled people because of their capacity to be able to pay proper salaries and benefits and so on. But some of the municipalities are not able to afford that. So it's a big challenge that we must look at. As SALGA, you should work with the national government and ensure that we address these issues of professionalization. Ladies and gentlemen, we must prioritize the speed of execution, which include enhancing coordination across government. Now, I emphasize this point because we have a lot of good policies as government. We're not short of good policies. There may be there and there where we need to review and strengthen, but in the main, we do have a lot of good policies, but we are always found wanting when it comes to execution. And that's why I'm emphasizing the speed of execution. Let's get things done. We have policies, we have plans, our vision is clear, our priorities. Let us implement. As government, what we are doing at the national level currently, we are harmonizing planning and budgeting as part of adopting this district development model, which all of you know is based on one plan, one vision to obtain the best results in developing a better life for everyone. We found this very useful because when national government, provincial and local government plan together, we often come out with much better results because we are able to channel resources where the priorities are. And I've spent a lot of time going to provinces, meeting with the premiers, MECs and executive mayors and MMCs and so on. And I find that to be a very useful way of working, which I think we must strengthen. Last year, the president introduced the water task team because of the challenges we're beginning to have in that sector as well. So I'm chairing that task team and working with a number of ministers. We want to make sure that we don't get to the challenges that we had with electricity. I know that we now got the issue of electricity under control with more than 300 days of no load shedding until last Saturday when Minister Ramokgopa called me. I was somewhere in the bush and he said, "Hey, don't be surprised. we might have a challenge this weekend. And those are real challenges. It's not just a failure of human beings. Real challenges. We're done well for close to a year, but last weekend there was a problem, and ministers briefed me that we might have to do some load shedding, but just a little bit temporarily to fix those things. And on Saturday night, he sent me a message. He says, we will suspend on Sunday morning. We've got the things right. So there are things I'm sure Minister is going to talk to us on. In the long run, how are we going to ensure that we have this sustainable way of doing things? The Minister always talks to me about the availability of energy and at what level it is, but it's really a subject of your equipments, your power stations, supply of diesel, and a lot of other things that we're dealing with. But I'm happy that Minister Ramkhopa and the team and ESCOM are really doing their best to deal with this issue. We often don't thank them when things are good. Minister Ramkhopa, well done. We only remember you when there's load shedding. We must remember you when things are good. So the water task team, the president was saying, look, let's avoid reaching those levels of a crisis. Let's plan ahead. And so we are busy with that with Minister Majodina. She has been all over the country. You have seen her. I also went with her to Guyana. We went to eThekwini, Free State, and other places. We are trying to work with everybody to ensure that we deal with this challenge. Some of the provinces like Gauteng, they get most of their water through the Vaal River system comes from the mountains of Lesotho. And currently there is work happening on the tunnel that brings water, and that's why we were worried in terms of what we're going to do. But at least most of our dams are full, and we should be able to supply. But as I said earlier, when it comes to water, our biggest challenge now is aging infrastructure in most municipalities. And once you have aging infrastructure, then you have a problem of leakages, and we then have the problem of non-revenue water, because you're losing 40%, if I'm not wrong, of the water. We're losing it through the leaks and so on. So we need to fix this old infrastructure. In some of the municipalities, they say infrastructure is like 50 years old. So you can understand the challenge. And then you have a municipality that have that kind of aged infrastructure, but they don't have the funds to fix it. So that's where national government must come in to help. Chairperson, as you would know, we are implementing a public-private partnership model in water supply with National Treasury and the Department of Water and Sanitation to ensure that we resolve the current water crisis facing a number of communities. In the energy space or electricity space, the minister, they are already doing that. The private sector is in already to try and work with us. I know that in some other sectors, people are saying we are privatizing. We are privatizing electricity, water. No, we are not. Public-private partnerships is really exactly what it says. It's a partnership. government continues to play a big role. But truth be told, we don't have all the money that we wish to have to be able to do these things alone. So we need to bring in the private sector. We are not privatizing. We are making sure that we bring the private sector to work with us to bring more resources on board to be able to deal with these challenges. But what is more important for SALGA is let's work together to make the district development model a success. It's a good model, and I believe that if we implement it well, it will make us succeed in a lot of things that we are dealing with, particularly at local government level. Chairperson, having said all this, as we gather here today, I think we must ensure that we sharpen and crystallize a common understanding of the three overarching policy priorities of the 7th administration. We must equally develop a common appreciation of a monitoring and evaluation framework in line with the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act. At least we have now in the presidency, we've got a minister responsible for monitoring and evaluation, because sometimes if you just go implement, but there's no proper monitoring, you are not able to see much earlier when there are red lights. So I think it's something that we must cascade down to provinces, to municipalities, and have this proper monitoring. The Intergovernmental Relation Framework is there, and we just need to tighten that. Let me say something before I end regarding the issue of land. As you know, the President recently signed the Expropriation Act. And there have been a lot of talks everywhere. All I need to say is really to point out that the ownership of land is one of the most important mechanisms to achieve the objectives of economic inclusion, food security, social cohesion, including inclusive spatial patterns, and also to deal with rural development. I often say when I speak to people that the struggle in our county in particular, hitherto has been a struggle for land. So it's a very important thing, because without access to land, there's very little you can do to ensure proper development. But in our country in particular, there must be redress. And that's why we are going the route that we are taking. There are those who are scared, of course, because they interpret this Expropriation Act as giving the government just unfettered powers of land grab. That's not the case. And this is a proper law that is going to ensure that things are done properly, but that almost all our people must have access to land to be able to be productive. And because of this, we need to move quickly to find solutions to the unequal and unfair patterns of land ownership that existed in our country for many years. We all know that we come from the apartheid situation, so we need to fix that and ensure that people have access to land. The resolution of this issue is not only a matter of social fairness, but it will also assist us in addressing other challenges that we are talking about. We have seen over the years now, we have had a lot of land invasions. And I'm sure SALGA will be grappling with this in many municipalities, because if we don't allocate land to people orderly, we are encouraging land invasion ourselves. Because people are not going to sit there hungry, dying, when they see there are vast amounts of arable land out there. So if we have a clear program of allocating land to communities, to people, doing redress, ensure that we we use land appropriately for production. If we do it properly, we'll be able to cap land invasions, because people will know that their government will allocate land to them. Whether it's they need land for housing developments, for farming, etc. So in short, as you can hear, I welcome the act. But also, let's enforce bylaws. Municipalities must enforce bylaws to be able to cap land invasions and all these other things. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you that last year in August, as I indicated earlier, we discussed the plan to launch what we call the Clean City campaign. And this is something that we have not really been able to get going. So I want to implore you to come up with a plan, an approach for how we can start this. I'm prepared to work with you since I've been asked by the President to focus at this level. We need to get our cities to be clean. It can't be a difficult task, because a clean city will be able to attract tourists and ensure that it increases revenue as well. People like going to clean cities. So I think it's something that we should do. It's not, this one doesn't need rocket science. Let's get it done. We can plan and say, where do we start, where do we go? And we involved communities. Let me use one example of what I saw in other countries. Okay, let me use the example of Rwanda. I know we have problem with them now. But when I went to Rwanda at some point, I saw something very interesting, and they've got something called umuganda. Now, what they do with umuganda, every Friday, they go cleaning, and the president is part of the cleaning, and the leadership of the provinces, the mayors, all of them, they wear their overall, they go clean, because that way they encourage communities. And I know in South Africa, some also tried it. I know in Gauteng, Lebogang Maile used to do something like that. I can't remember what he called it. Bontlekibot. Yes, Bontlekibot. And it could be that other townships or other municipalities, local areas are doing it already. But I think let's give it a momentum where we clean our cities, we clean our townships, so that we're able to ensure that people look forward to coming to South Africa. I read a story this morning that tourism is now increasing once again in South Africa. I saw a manager of Sun City saying there's a tourist boom coming in, the Western Cape as well, they were talking about it. So if we get this right, you'll see tourism is going to increase. So I want to suggest, President, that maybe we establish a committee that will evaluate our city's cleanliness every year, But also what we can do, we can give prizes to the best clean city. What do you think? Yeah. We get, are there some who are already doing it? Yeah, yeah. But we can give prizes because when communities compete, it becomes a good thing. So let's establish a committee that will then look into that. Perhaps by the time you finish the Lekgotla, you'll come with some ideas on how we can work together. National government will be part of it. We'll get provincial government and local government to be part of it. But, you know, SALGA can lead this campaign, working with us. Let me therefore conclude, because I also want to listen to Minister Ramokgopa. Let me conclude by restating that it is important that SALGA and all three spheres of government collaborate in order to find solutions to service delivery challenges. On Thursday, President Ramaphosa will deliver the State of the Nation address, SONA, which is an important period in the life of our country, where the President tells us where we come from and where we're going. What are the challenges? What are the solutions? And as we deliberate on key issues at hand today, let us keep in mind that important address, because once the President has spoken, we will take from that and incorporate in our programs on what we need to do also at local government level. I believe, Chairperson, that this Lekgotla will have robust discussions that will advance our collective aspirations in a way that is making us to be united in purpose. Let us harness the power of intergovernmental integration to build a more responsive, effective, and inclusive system of governance that truly serves the needs of our people. That's really what we want to see happening, and I'm sure that by the time you finish this Lekgotla, you're going to come up with a lot of these programs that are going to ensure that we see improvement going forward. South Africa is a beautiful country, and if we work together, we can make it better and better and make people to come to our country. We will develop it, deal with all the challenges we face, unemployment, grow the economy, get our children to have skills, our people, and indeed continue to build our country. I'm happy to have had this opportunity to talk to you, and I wish you well. I wish you well.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Colleagues, we will take a few comments